Hey guys, it's your boy Tyler from the Line Change coming with you with another video. This is actually take two as I had already recorded the video, and then while I was doing my edits, I realized I didn't turn my microphone on, so now I got to redo this. But you know, it is what it is, and yeah, let's go. Take two. All right, so this video we're going over is by the time of the recording of this video, there's already a few articles out there that mention this that I'm going to be talking about. So it's not exactly fresh or new. It's I initially saw at least the first article that I saw about this was a few days ago. So by now, a few more articles have since come out talking about this. Sorry, let's fix my camera real quick. Have been talking about this. So now I have. I'm gonna leave a link to this one article in particular that I'm looking at that talks about this. For whatever reason, if I cannot put the link in the description. The article is on CanucksArmy.com, so you guys can go ahead and take a gander at it yourselves. Read up on it and whatnot. But the article in particular that we're talking about is supposedly, it hasn't been confirmed or anything by like an insider like a Elliot Friedman or one of those types. It's just a report that it's reportedly been revealed that Jared McCann of the Seattle Kraken is on the trade block. Now, for those of you who don't know who Jared McCann is, he was at one point a Vancouver Canuck. Yeah, how about that? He was a first round pick that the Canucks had actually drafted in the 2014 draft. Now, a little bit more in regards to that draft, speaking of that 2014 draft, this was the same draft as guys like Sam Reinhart, Leon Draisaitl, Aaron Ekblad, David Pastrnak. All these guys were in that draft class as the same class as Jared McCann. Now, and here's another little tidbit of info in regards to this draft year. The Canucks picked Jared McCann 24th overall, and then the very next pick was David Pastrnak by the Boston Bruins. So put on our what if caps for a quick second here. Imagine if the Canucks had not drafted Jared McCann and had instead picked David Pastrnak. Just think of what the Canucks would have been, that year and then the years after that. Now, imagine if we had David Pastrnak as a winger. He would have torn it up. Like, he would have had a player the caliber of David Pastrnak for years had we picked him instead of Jared McCann, who ended up not working out for us. We ended up having him for one season, and then we traded him to Florida in a if you take a peek at this article on Canucks Army, you can see just how terrible this trade was, at the time. We ended up getting Eric Goodbranson and a 5th-round pick for Jared McCann, and we also gave up a 2nd-round pick and a 4th round. And the picks that we got ended up going nowhere. They ended up not panning out in the NHL at all. Like, nobody even knows their names. This 5th-round pick that we got, Cole Candela. Who the heck is Cole Candela? Like, no one's even heard of him, or really, he's not even in the NHL. He's a nobody now. He didn't pan out. And we got that in return for a guy like Jared McCann, who's, scored 96 goals in the last 3 seasons alone. 96 in just the last 3 seasons. It's pretty damn, that goes to tell you the guy knows how to score. And it actually, in fact, in 2022-2023 season, he scored 40, something that Brock Besser did for the first time last season. So much like Besser, he's got a 40-goal campaign under his belt already. And, that begs the question, if Jared McCann actually is on the trade block, are the Canucks actually interested in a player like that? That's one thing I didn't cover in the previous recording that I attempted for this. I didn't cover whether or not would the Canucks be interested. Is he a fit for the Canucks? Personally, I think he's a fit. I mean, that whole stat alone of, him scoring 96 goals in the last 3 seasons stands out for me, and I've, when the Canucks have played the Kraken, I've been watching closely Jared McCann because I, knew of Jared McCann and that, found out at the time, oh, he was drafted by the Canucks. How come we don't still have this guy? So obviously I looked into it. I did my research. It was like, oh, Jim Benning, he freaking traded him away. He didn't even give him really a chance. And then, that's one of those many mistakes that Jim Benning did where he gave up on a player, shipped him off, and then this player lit it up. Like, turned out to be one heck of a hockey player. Now, obviously, if we're looking at to get a guy like Jared McCann, obviously one of the first things that comes up in this is what's the cost going to be? No. What's it going to cost to get a player the caliber of Jared McCann? My personal opinion on no, I'm not Seattle. I'm not their GM. I'm not privy to what they're looking for in regards to Jared McCann. But if I was them, I would want a first round pick, no question about it, and then maybe a prospect, like a top end prospect. So that begs the question, what would the cost be for a player like Jared McCann? Right now, Jared McCann has a cap hit of $5 million over the next 2 seasons. Not too pricey, but I mean, $5 million is still $5 million. Obviously, to the average, the regular, you and me, $5 million is a lot of freaking money. But maybe to guys who are making more than $5 million, that ain't much. But so for $5 million, it was probably a terrible analogy, but you get what I'm saying. For this, you understand what I'm trying to get at. So $5 million is not that too. It's not too steep. I have obviously seen people say, in various YouTube videos that I watch that talk about this stuff as well, that I utilize and to do my research and whatnot for my own videos. People are saying, oh, you should go out and get Josh Norris. He's really good friends with Quinn Hughes, which is not a bad idea at all. It's not a bad idea at all. However, Josh Norris has a cap hit of $7.9 million for the next 4 or 5 years. Now you want to talk about pricey. That's pricey. So not only do I think we're getting a better deal with Jared McCann if we were to get Jared McCann, but he's also cheaper than what Josh Norris would be. Plus, I don't even think Ottawa would even sniff at wanting to trade a guy like Norris, unless they were going to get something big in return. And that is just something I don't think the Canucks have at the moment. Like right now, the Canucks do not have something that would even entertain or even get Ottawa to even look at them in regards to a Josh Norris trade. Now, moving on, I mentioned the cost. Obviously I mentioned, the first round pick, but what prospect would we have to give up in order to get a player like Jared McCann? I've listed 3 down here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Who do you have names that you would want to potentially trade away when it comes to a prospect? But the 3 that I have is Lekaramaki. Obviously, he's number 1. And don't get me wrong, he's probably one of the last people that I would want to trade away, even for a guy like McCann. But he's an asset. We could get you know, you know, he could easily get us a player of the caliber of Jared McCann just by trading him. And yes, we'd be giving up, future, potential, I don't know, 20, 30, maybe even 40 goal scorer, and a guy like Karamaki who's could have that potential. I also, when it comes to Lekaramaki, I think he could be a Brock Besser replacement, especially if the Canucks can't re-sign him. I'm going to talk more about Besser because it pertains to this particular topic. But Lekaramaki, as I said, Atu Ratu could be another one. I mean, he is a center, and he could be appealing to Seattle Kraken. Now, I really couldn't figure out a third option, so I just wrote down Archie Baines. Not that I think that would get done, a first round and Baines. I'd be freaking surprised if Seattle actually accepted that. I know, I sure as heck wouldn't, But there's that third option. Going back to Besser, and this is my take on it, if they can't re-sign Brock Besser, before the deadline, could they, manage to keep their prospect or their prospects, trade that their first round pick, because they still have their first round pick. They traded the Rangers' first round pick to get MP3. But if they trade their first round pick, they could package Brock Besser with that first round pick, and maybe they could get Jared McCann. I mean, again, like I said earlier, I'm not the Seattle Kraken GM, but if I were the Seattle Kraken, I'd say yes to that deal in a freaking heartbeat. So, think about that for a second. If we can't re-sign Besser, if he's outpriced himself for what the Canucks are looking to offer him, if he wants too much money and the Canucks cannot facilitate that, trade him and get a guy like Jared McCann who can replace Besser. Or obviously, Patrick Allvin has made it known that the Canucks are looking for a mid-20-ish center. Well, here's the thing with McCann. He can play center. I mean, yes, he's not mid-20s. He's 28 years old, and, he's turning 29 next season. So he's getting up there in age, but he's still particularly young, and he produces. He's shown that over the last 3 seasons of his as a part of Seattle. He's shown that he can produce. Look down at my notes. Here's another thing. So actually, let me. Oh crap! I don't have it up anymore. I'm gonna quickly check out Jared McCann's stats. For some reason you know what? I'm gonna look at it on my phone real quick. There it is. Here. Much easier to do on my phone than opening up a tab. Jared McCann. Going to elite prospects. So, okay, so Jared McCann, 28 years old, born in Stratford, Ontario, Canada, so he's Canadian. There's a bonus right there. I actually learn something new every day. I did not know that he was Canadian. A 6'1", 185-pound left-handed shot. His contract goes until 2026, 2027. So he would, if we traded for him, we would get 2 years of control. Stats. Okay, so dating back to the 2019 2020 season with the, or wait, no. Actually, let's go back to when he was with Vancouver. So his 2015-2016 season with the Vancouver Canucks, played 69 games and had 9 goals, 9 assists for 18 points. Not terrible, but obviously, if a guy drafted like that, you would think it would be better. And then when he got shipped off to Florida, he had a goal and 6 assists for 7 points with the Panthers. The following season with the Panthers, he ended up with 28 points in 68 games, 9 goals, 19 assists. The following year, 8 goals, 10 assists for 18 points in 46 games. And then he went to Pittsburgh and had 11 goals, 6 assists for 17 points in 32 games. Another season with Pittsburgh, 14 goals, 21 assists for 35 points in 66 games. So as you can see, some of these point productions are going up as the years are going on. That following season, his last season in Pittsburgh, 2020 to 2021 season, he had 14 goals, 18 assists in 43 games for 32 points. And then he was actually traded to Toronto prior to the expansion draft, as the Penguins knew that he was going to be a target and decided to trade him to Toronto. And he ended up, being picked up by the Kraken in the expansion draft. And then his first season in Seattle, 27 goals, 23 assists in 74 games, 50 points. Second season in Seattle, and then this was his breakout season in 2022-2023. 40 goals, 30 assists in 79 games, ending up with 70 points. Last season, he had 29 goals, 33 assists in 80 games for 62 points. So, as you can see, this guy's can produce, he hasn't produced, he hasn't had a under, he's gone from 50 to 70 to 62. Yes, he had a bit of a drop off last season, compared to his breakout season. And then so far this year, McCann has 14 goals, 28 assists in 57 games, 42 points so far this season. So if the Canucks were able to trade for McCann, like, by the deadline, and, obviously by the time the deadline happens, his points might go up, you're still trading for a 40 point player right now, like this season. He's projected to get finished with 60 points this season, which is obviously, again, a little bit of a drop off from his breakout season. He's projected to finish with 20 goals, 40 assists for 82 games. He hasn't missed a game this season so far. No, knock on wood, so far. So yeah, those are the stats for Jared McCann. Now I'm gonna give you my thoughts on this, and give you guys like where I'm at. when I initially read this article. Um, Personally, I like this idea of a trade. I think he's a good fit for the Canucks. He addresses, I know there was talks about, the Canucks needing a winger. Alvin coming out and saying, we want a center. If we were to get McCann and wanted him to play center, we could move Hedel to the wing and have those two on the same line. And Hedel, I believe, has played the wing in New York, at least for a little bit. Obviously he was predominantly a third line center in New York. I do know there was probably stints where he was on the wing. But you could shift him over to the wing and it would still be work out. You could have, or you could flip that and have Hedel center and then McCann be a winger for him. You could also put McCann with PD. He could be that winger that people have been like, oh, PD needs a winger, and then we go out and get Jake DeBrusk, and so far he those two haven't been lighting it up. He hasn't been the winger that we thought he was going to be for PD. We thought he was the answer. So far this we've seen spritz of it, glimpses of that working, but it hasn't worked out in the long run, and it hasn't been consistent. That's the thing, consistency. So if we got a guy like Jared McCann, we would be getting that. So yeah, so I'm a big fan of that deal. Obviously the price is a little high. His cap hit is $5 million. Obviously, people know the cap is going up over these next few years. Now, in regards to Besser, obviously, like I mentioned, if we can't re-sign him, try and use Besser to get Jared McCann. Kind of like sweeten the pot kind of thing. Obviously, my preference would be to keep Besser, re-sign him. Especially as I just said, cap's going up. So to me, and this is just my opinion, there is no excuse not to give Besser the bag. Pay the man what he wants. The cap's going up. You can afford Besser at $8 million. Yes, he's had a down season after scoring 40 goals last year, but technically, if you really think about it, the whole team has had a down season. There's been the drama and blah and all this. He could score 40 again next year. Then again, he may not. But I still think it's worth the risk, keeping Besser. But obviously, if they can't get a deal done, if his price tag is too high for in the Canucks' eyes, use him and trade for Jared McCann. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace!